बयां किससे जाकर करूं दर्द अपना है गैरों की दुनिया नहीं कोई अपना बयां किससे जाकर करूं दर्द अपना है गैरों की दुनिया नहीं कोई अपना कोई जाके बाबा से कह दो ये जाकर के ले जाओ आकर अकेली है ज़हरा रोने
बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम. I begin in the name of the Almighty God, the Compassionate, the Merciful, the one who has created everything in utmost perfection. And may the peace and blessings of the Almighty God be upon His pure and beloved Messenger, the peak of His creation, the symbol of humanity, the Holy Prophet Mohammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. And his immaculate progeny of the Ahlul Bayt, peace be upon them, especially the leader of our time, the awaited Savior, Al-Imam Al-Mahdi, Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Faraja. May Allah hasten His reappearance and make us amongst His sincere and dedicated servants. Respected believers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I extend to you my sincerest condolences on the tragic martyrdom of the flower of Rasulullah. In one hadith, the Prophet says to his beloved daughter, "You are the soul that's between me." Lady Fatima was the soul and the spirit of the greatest creation of Allah. She is our inspiration. She is our role model. I extend to you my sincerest condolences on her tragic martyrdom. And we have gathered today to commemorate her legacy. The life of Lady Fatima alayhi salam has multiple dimensions for us to learn from. But there is one particular dimension that I would like to share with you. Here in the West, we struggle with the issue of having a strong Islamic identity. For many of us, for many of our families, it's not even clear to us what our identity is, what it means to be Muslim in this society, in the 21st century. Am I a Muslim? Am I a British citizen? Am I a combination of both? And then you have your own ethnicities going back to other countries, Iraq, Pakistan, India, parts of the Middle East. Our parents and grandparents, many of them immigrated from there. And you see all these multiple identities intersecting. And it becomes very difficult to make sense of our identity. As a Muslim, what should my identity be? I will share with you a number of examples from great women in history. I'll share with you snippets of their lives, some of their stances, to better understand the discussion on identity. First, I will start with the lady whom we are commemorating this afternoon, Lady Fatima Zahra salawatullahi alayha. About 10 days after the departure of the Prophet, despite all the pain that she was going through after the attack that happened on her house, Lady Fatima alayhi salam goes to the mosque of the Prophet and she delivers a sermon, a very powerful sermon that shook history, a sermon that upheld justice and exposed the hypocrites. This is called the Fadaki sermon. When Lady Fatima alayhi salam gave that sermon after the land of Fadak was confiscated from her, she went to the mosque of the Prophet and she addressed those companions with so much dignity, with so much courage. Imagine an 18-year-old woman in that Arabian society. It was very uncommon for a woman to come in the presence of men and speak, but Lady Fatima alayhi salam went there. I would like to focus on one word that she says in this speech. In the beginning, she praises the Almighty Lord. She speaks about the miraculous nature of the creation of God. Study the Fadaki sermon. It's mind-boggling. In that opening statement, Lady Fatima alayhi salam states, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the reason why His creation is miraculous, because sometimes humans can become arrogant and think, you know what, we can create too. We can do wonderful things too. Look at these airplanes that we're sending into the skies. Isn't this a miracle? Lady Fatima alayhi salam teaches us something very valuable here. We human beings, despite all of our progress and technological advancements, all we do is we assemble things and put things together. Have you ever found a human being who's invented something out of nothing? Absolute non-existence? Impossible. We examine nature. We try to understand how it works. We copy it. We put things together. That's all we do. Look at the greatest discoveries. The greatest inventions. What are they? People assembling things. That's all. We looked at birds and how they fly and how they have wings, and we got the idea of making planes. We're just copying nature. Lady Fatima alayhi salam, in that Fadaki sermon, she says Allah created this magnificent creation out of nothing, without seeing a prior example. We human beings, we look at examples, we test them in the lab, then we make them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this universe out of nothing. Which example did He follow when He decided to create the universe? Lady Fatima says, think, look at the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is this not enough proof for you to believe in Allah? Then Lady Fatima examines the philosophy of our religious acts. She eloquently summarizes to us the teachings of Islam. What's the philosophy behind prayer, fasting, hajj, charity, enjoining good, forbidding evil? Then, before she brings the injustice that was done to the Ahlul Bayt, and she talks about the land of Fadak and inheritance, Lady Fatima alayhi salam, after that opening statement, sends one word, a powerful word, which should be our inspiration as we figure out what our identity is. She looks at the people present there and she says, Ayyuhan nas, people, i'lamu anni Fatima. Know that I am Fatima. Everyone knew she was Fatima. Did anyone have any doubts that this is Fatima, the daughter of the Prophet? Why did she say, i'lamu anni Fatima? Keep this in mind. I will share now another set of examples, then we'll connect the dots. So Lady Fatima, with so much courage, with so much honor and dignity, says, I am Fatima. Her daughter Zainab alayhi salam, look at her in Kufa and Damascus when she gave those powerful speeches in the presence of tyrants, powerful rulers. Lady Zainab alayhi salam starts her sermon in Sham, praising Allah. Oh Allah, thank you for giving us martyrdom and shahada. We are the tree of the Ahlul Bayt, the family of the Prophet. We are the stars of the earth. Look at her descriptions. Look at how she's proud of her identity over here. Very strong, self-confident. When Ibn Ziyad asks her, Zainab, how did you find what God did to your brother Hussein? Imagine a woman losing her brothers, her children, and you ask her that question. He tells her, God killed your brother Hussein. How do you find that? What did she say? He wanted to demoralize her. She's the one who demoralized him. You know what she told him? She said, Ma ra'aytu illa jamila. I've seen nothing but beauty. Allahu Akbar. What beauty! This is the massacre of Karbala. When you look at the system of God and how Allah elevated the message of Ahlul Bayt, it's beautiful. And she says, I see nothing but beauty. But this is the Zainab and the strength that Zainab had. Go back to previous civilizations and look at the Quran, how the Quran describes some of those women who were eternalized in history. At the time of Fir'aun, there were two faithful women. One of them was the hairdresser of the daughter of the Pharaoh. He had an adopted daughter. There was a woman called Mashitat bint Fir'aun. Mashita. She would comb her hair because she's the daughter of the king, the Pharaoh. She has that luxury. But she was a faithful woman who believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She did not worship Fir'aun. One day as she's combing the hair of the daughter of the Pharaoh, the comb falls to the ground. When the comb falls to the ground, she says, Ya Allah. She mentions the name of God. The daughter of Fir'aun looks at her and she tells her, whose name did you mention? She tells her, Allah, my Lord. She is frustrated and angered, and she told her, you don't worship my father, the Pharaoh? She said, no, I worship the king of all kings, the Lord of your father Fir'aun. She goes and she tells Fir'aun, oh Fir'aun, you have a traitor in the palace, somebody who doesn't worship you. Fir'aun says, summon her. Who dares not worship me in this palace? He summons her and he tells her, is it true that you worship God and you don't worship me? But her heart was so full of love and faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. She says, yes, I believe in the one Lord. I don't worship you. Who are you? You're a human being just like us. He tells her, listen, I'll punish you if you don't stop worshiping the Lord. She says, do whatever you wish. I'm not stopping. There's no chance that I will stop. You know what he does? She had 4 children. He brings her 4 children. You know, that's usually the weak spot of a parent with your children. We give in. We can't handle that. I may handle the pain, but I can't see my children suffer. He brings her 4 children and he tells her, if you don't stop, if you don't start worshiping me now, I'll kill them. She says, I've submitted my case to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He kills the first 3 children in front of her eyes. The last one was a baby infant. Right before the infant is about to be killed, her heart is now shaken. She breastfeeds this child. She's attached to this child. How can she see the infant being killed in front of her? But she was thinking, should I do the sacrifice here? No one is worshiping God. I have to make a statement to awaken people. Sometimes you have to make a sacrifice to awaken the people. That's what Imam Hussein a.s. did. He had to awaken the ummah. She wanted to awaken those dead hearts. Her heart is now shaken. You know what happens here? She considers giving in to Fir'aun and saying, okay, I'll go back to worshiping you. I'll worship you, but save my child. The Imam a.s. comments here. He says only a handful of infants were allowed to speak by Allah in history. One of them was Prophet Isa a.s. He spoke from the cradle. One of them was the witness in the story of Prophet Yusuf a.s. when he was unjustly accused of harassing Zulaykha, right? She's the one who harassed him, but she accused him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made a child from her relatives, from her family, speak and testify that Yusuf is innocent. That's the second one. The third one is this child. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to this infant spoke. And the infant says to its mother, my mother, don't give in. Paradise is just on the other side waiting for us. Have patience. This strengthens her heart. And soon after they kill the baby and Fir'aun orders this faithful woman to be killed and she is rejoined with the souls of her children. But she made that sacrifice. Look at the courage that she had, brothers and sisters. Look at the amazing courage this woman had. When Asiya, the wife of the Pharaoh, when she saw this incident, that gave her courage. She had everything that a woman can have. Wife of the king, in a palace. She has servants at her disposal anytime she needs them. Jewelry, gold, silver, wealth, you name it. But sometimes Allah puts you to the trial. Do you want this dunya or you want the akhirah? Which one? Choose. Allah gave her the dunya, but Allah gave her faith and iman in her heart. And she also stopped worshipping Pharaoh. This made Pharaoh furious. My own wife is stopping from worshipping me? Impossible. He warned her. She didn't listen to him. He said, you know what? I'm going to punish you. Physically punish you. She said, do whatever you want. I have God with me now. I found the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He dragged her in the streets. Then he pegged her hands and feet with a nail to the ground. Who can handle that? Then they took a boulder, a rock on her chest. In those final moments, you know what she said? What would you say if you were in her shoes? What would you say? Oh Allah, why me? I've taken steps to get closer to you and you put me through difficulty? Why did this happen to me? We'd object, right? We'd complain. She never complained. Allah captures her dua in the Holy Quran in Surah Al-Tahrim. ضرب الله مثلا للذين آمنوا امرأة فرعون. What did she say? إذ قالت رب ابن لي عندك بيتا في الجنة. This was the request she made from Allah. Oh Allah, I want a house with you in paradise. I want to get close to you. And save me from Fir'aun and save me from this injustice. That's the only thing she said. Did she complain? Did she object? No. At that point, she raises her head to the sky. The angels descend on her. They greet her and they tell her Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has arranged that house in paradise for you. And she sees it from earth. When she sees it, she starts smiling. Fir'aun says to his guards, look at her, she's gone mad. She's crazy, we're torturing her and she's smiling. But look at the strong confidence that she had in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are examples for us, my dear brothers and sisters. Look at the women of Ahlul Bayt. I gave you examples of women because we're commemorating the legacy of Lady Fatima alayhi salam. But every member of the Ahlul Bayt was like that. How many of you have heard the story of that 3-year-old daughter of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, Fatima Sughra, in Karbala after they set the tents to fire? Hamid ibn Muslim, who was a journalist and historian attending Karbala, he says, I saw a 3-year-old girl. Her clothes had caught on fire. She was running around not knowing how to put out the fire. He says, I came to her. She asked me, are you with us or against us? I told her, I'm not with you or against you, but let me help you. He says she went underneath my horse. The horse was high. She went under it to protect herself from the heat of the sun. And she would lift one foot and put one foot on the ground because the ground was so hot. He says, I helped her put out the fire. I asked her, who are you? This is where I'm getting at. Who are you? This is the daughter of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Look at how she responds. Look at her mentality. And this helps us when it comes to raising our children and giving them the right identity and mentality. He asked her, who are you? I don't know you. Introduce yourself. You know what she says? She tells him, Ya Shaykh, oh man, oh elderly man, have you read the Quran? Allahu Akbar, a 3-year-old child of Imam Hussein. You ask them a question, who are you? And they quote the Quran. He says, yes, I've read the Quran. What about the Quran? He was puzzled. Why is she mentioning the Quran in this difficult state? She told him, have you ever read the verse, وَأَمَّا الْيَتِيمَ فَأَمَّا الْيَتِيمَ فَلَا تَقْهَرْ. As for the yatim, the orphan, do not hurt the orphan. Have you read this verse? He says, yes, my dear, I've read this verse. Why? She tells him, Ana yatimatul Hussein. I am the orphan of Abi Abdullah al-Hussein. But she says it with so much pride. She's burning, but she tells him, I am the child of Abi Abdullah al-Hussein. And she was proud about that. All the members of Ahlul Bayt, on the day of Ashura, when you hear the maqtal and the eulogy, one thing that you'll commonly hear when those youth of Karbala, they would go out to the battlefield. The minute they would go out to the battlefield and they would face this massive army in front of them, what would they say? Does any one of you remember what they would say? Before the fighting starts, on their way to the battlefield, they would say something. What would they say? In Arabic lines of poetry, what would they say? Al-Qasim, Ali al-Akbar, the Imam himself, Al-Abbas, all of them said that. What would they say? They would introduce themselves. Didn't Ali al-Akbar, when he go out to the battlefield, didn't he say, Ana Ali ibn al-Husayn ibn Ali? Didn't Al-Qasim say, In tunkiruni fa-ana najlu al-Hasan? The first words they would say, they would introduce themselves with so much power. Why? See, in front of them you have an army. According to conservative estimates, it was 30,000 people. You're only what, 70, 80? On the other side you have 30,000. So if you look at it from a quantity perspective, number-wise, it was no match. They had the power, they had the numbers. But Al-Qasim, Ali al-Akbar, the Imam himself, when he went out to the battlefield, the message that he was sending is strong. You've got the numbers, you've got the massive army, but don't underestimate me. I am Hussein, son of Ali. I am Ali, the son of Hussein. I am the Qasim, Najl al-Hasan. I am Abbas, the son of Amir al-Mu'mineen. My identity is so strong and I'm so confident of my identity. I am the one who's going to win this war, not you and your numbers. You see the Ahlul Bayt, how they treated the issue of their identity? They were very humble, by the way. You would not find people more humble than the Ahlul Bayt. Peak of humility. Peak of humility. The Imam alayhi salam was at the peak of humility. They did not say this with pride or arrogance, but they had a strong sense of identity of who we are, what we represent. You've got the power, you've got the numbers, but our identity will defeat you. Have you ever wondered why Imam Hussein alayhi salam defeated them? On the day of Ashura, when they had the power, the propaganda machine, the media, the wealth and the numbers. Have you ever really thought about it? Yes, we know Imam Hussein is connected to Allah and Allah does His wonders. We know that. But how did that happen? From a natural perspective, natural, social, historic perspective, how did that happen? The way that Imam Hussein alayhi salam achieved victory, despite all those big numbers, the way Lady Fatima achieves victory until this day, despite all those people abandoning her and standing in her face, was the strength of their identity. Ayyuhan nas i'lamu anni Fatima. Know that I am Fatima, the daughter of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa alayhi Muhammad. That word defeated them then and there. The strength of the identity of the Ahlul Bayt defeated them then and there. And this is a lesson for us. This is a very, very big lesson for us, brothers and sisters. The system of God throughout history has been the case that the believers are always outnumbered. Never look for numbers. Look at all previous prophets of God. How many people were with them? Because Allah in this life, He's trying us. This life is a trial. With trial comes difficulty. We have to be ready for the trial. Look at every previous prophet of God. They were always outnumbered. Prophet Nuh alayhi salam, he spent 950 years with his people. How many people believed in him? How many? 80. Can you imagine? After 950 years, only 80? I've always wondered why. I mean, he's a prophet of God. He had miracles. He had the best guidance, the best akhlaq. Why only 80 after 950? You know why? And by the way, this also sheds light on our trial during the time of ghaib. As we await the return of our Imam, please keep the story of Nuh in mind. Once I investigated in the hadiths to see why did they disbelieve, what was the matter with them? 950 years? That's a lot. That's many, many years. We give up in a few years, and he was confident 950 years. You know how Allah tried the people of Prophet Nuh? This is a lesson for us. It was a very difficult trial. Prophet Nuh had many, many supporters in the beginning. Many people who say, we are Muslims, we are believers, we are on your path. Many people, it's easy to claim to believe. Allah says, okay, you claim you believe, I'll put you to the trial. There were enemies from the progeny of Qabil, the one who killed Habil. His progeny turned out to be deviant, and they were present at the time of Prophet Nuh alayhi salam, because Prophet Nuh was born on the day Prophet Adam passed away. Prophet Adam lived close to 1,000 years, 900 something years. The day that he passed away, Nuh, his great-great-great-great-grandchild, was born. So the progeny of Qabil were creating a lot of trouble. They were disbelieving, creating, spreading mischief and corruption on earth. The believers came to Prophet Nuh. They told him, oh Nuh, when is God going to send his punishment on these people? When? Tell us. Prophet Nuh asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through revelation. The revelation comes to him, Nuh, tell your people to plant a palm tree. Get a seed, plant a palm tree. When the palm tree matures and grows, and it gives you dates and fruits, eat from that fruit, then the punishment of God will come on the evildoers. How long does it take for an average palm tree to mature and produce fruits? About 10 years on average, depending on the type of palm tree. On average, 10 years. They were so excited. Many people believed in him. They had seen miracles. They had claimed to believe. They were so excited. Oh wow, it's just about 10 years and God will give us victory over the unbelievers. They all participated. They planted the tree as the tree was growing. They loved the tree. They passed by the tree. It was the symbol of their hope and victory. Right? Well, what happens? 10 years come. The tree is now mature. It's giving you dates. They go and they eat from the dates. Nothing happens. Think about this. Nothing happens. They go to Nuh alayhi salam. They tell him, Nuh, didn't you say that God will send down the punishment when we eat from the fruit of this tree? We did. Nothing's happening. He said, let me ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala next time revelation comes. He asked Jibreel. Jibreel brings the answer from Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells him, Nuh, I've decided to extend it another 10 years. Tell them to plant another tree, then the punishment comes down. See how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sometimes tries you to see if you really trust him or not. See, Allah sometimes doesn't show you the full picture. Allah didn't change anything. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not show them the full picture to try them. Let me give you an example. Let's say you go to a doctor or ask anybody, right? Tell him, doctor, if I eat poison, if I consume deadly poison, what happens to me? What's your doctor going to tell you? If it's fatal poison, what's your doctor going to tell you? You'll die. Okay. Is that a true statement? Of course, it's a true statement. You ate that poison, you die. You ate that poison, then immediately you were taken to the hospital. They washed your intestines and they gave you the antidote to that poison and you survived. Does that mean your doctor is a liar? You survived, you didn't die, and he told you if you eat that poison, you'll die. Does that mean your doctor is a liar? No. The doctor tells you certain factors. He tells you one part. Yeah, if you eat it, you should die. But there could be other factors involved. You could be saved through another factor, right? Sometimes Allah shows you one picture. He shows you one factor, but He doesn't show you other factors. Why? To try you. So Nuh showed them one factor. Yes, based on certain factors, the punishment of God should come on them. But Allah can extend that. There could be factors. That's why we believe we human beings can actually change our fate. Doesn't the hadith state sometimes the adhab is coming on you, the tragedy, you pay one sadaqah, Allah changes that. Sometimes you're supposed to die at age 30, Allah makes it 70 because you did a good deed. You established ties with your parents, with your family members, you donated in society, you helped one another. These are factors that change things, right? But sometimes Allah doesn't show you in order to try you. That's what happened with the people of Nuh alayhi salam. Now imagine when this happened and Nuh says, do this another time, his people split into three groups. One are those who still believe. They're like, you know what, we're going to believe. He's a prophet, we've seen the miracles, and yeah, Allah can extend things. Factors can change. We still believe you, Nuh. A second group disbelieve. They're like, oh no, forget it, he's not a prophet. The punishment didn't come down, forget it, we're stopping this religion. The third group were the hypocrites. Like, you know what, it could go either side. We don't know. Let's wait and act as if we believe, but we don't really believe. Maybe he did get victory, let's be with him. People who only care about their interests. So this happened another time. They waited another 10 years. The tree gave fruit. Did the punishment come down the second time? No. Do you know how many times this happened? And Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salam states this happened. This happened 7 times. About 70 years this kept happening. And every time the followers of Prophet Nuh kept dwindling and dwindling and dwindling. Now you know after 950 years why he had only 80. That's the trial. But then the Imam says at the time of ghaibah, that's how you'll be tested, O mu'mineen. Are you ready for that test? With a strong identity, brothers and sisters, we can be ready. In this society, we face many challenges. But the strength of our identity is key to our religious health, spiritual health, and mental and psychological health. The solution to many of the struggles we have lies in a strong identity. We have to train our children to be proud of their faith, to be proud of the Holy Quran, to be proud of the legacy of the Ahlul Bayt. If we're not proud of that, and sometimes in open society we're kind of reluctant or embarrassed or shy, it reveals we have not understood our faith. Because once you see the beauty of Islam, the beauty of the legacy of the Ahlul Bayt, you go out in society with so much confidence, with so much pride, you'll invite others to the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt through your actions before your words. But this requires self-confidence. The younger generation today in our societies, in the West, in this country, in Canada, in the US, they're having a weak sense of identity because they really don't know what it means to be a Muslim. Yeah, they live in a Muslim household. Mom and dad are Muslim. Okay, we have prayer, we have certain acts, but they don't really understand what it means to be a Muslim. What does it mean for me to be a Muslim? How should I look at other people in society? They don't know. Parents have not taken the time and the effort to actually explain to their children, what does it mean for me to be a Muslim? Let's learn from the legacy of the Ahlul Bayt, peace be upon them. When it comes to being open to other communities, Islam is the most humane religion. Be proud of that. The identity of every Muslim, brothers and sisters, regardless of where you are, what your land is, what your heritage is, what your ethnicity is, the identity of a Muslim is twofold. One, you are a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Does your child grow up feeling that he or she is a servant of God? And that everything revolves around Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Do we have that servitude to the Almighty God? Are we familiar with that? Look at the munajat and the du'as of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam in Masjid al-Kufa. مولاي مولاي أنت المولى وأنا العبد. Oh Allah, oh my Lord, you're the master and I am the slave. وَهَلْ يَرْحَمُ الْعَبْدَ إِلَّا الْمَوْلَى. And who other than the master can have mercy on the slave? See the Ahlul Bayt? That's servitude. They ascended to Allah through servitude. That's why when you send your salutations and salam to the Prophet in your salah, what is the first description we mention to the Prophet? وَأَشْهَدُ أَنَّ مُحَمَّدًا what? عَبْدُهُ. The Prophet has many contributions and titles. He's the best creation of Allah. He's the final messenger, the universal messenger. He is Taha. He is the Amin. He is the trustworthy. He's Habibullah. Many fabulous titles. But what does Allah put in the salah? Abduhu wa Rasuluh. He's the servant of God. What defines you as a Muslim is to be a servant of God. That means you see all human beings as the creation of God, as the dependents of God. And that gives you servitude to the people. Serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means serving the people. That's the core of the religion of Islam. To rid yourself from that arrogance, from that feeling of being superior to others, and to see yourself as nothing but a servant. I'm nothing but a servant. Prophet Isa alayhi salam once washed the feet of his disciples. He told him, Ya Ruh Allah, you're the Spirit of God and you do this? He said, yes. So I teach you how to be humble with the people. Sometimes when you look at people from other religions, from other communities, usually what happens, we dehumanize them. You know, these people, they're going to hell, they're bad, they're evil. In fact, come even in our community. Forget about non-Muslims. Forget about Muslims from other schools of thought. Look at our own people in our community. How do they view one another? How do they view one another? Do we really see each other as brothers in one faith? Just look at the talk and the mentality that sometimes you hear from here and there. Every time an event comes up, Ramadan and the Eid, you have controversy, people attacking others. Muharram and Azadari comes, this group denounces the other. You're anti-Azadari, you're the enemy of Imam Hussein, I'm gonna bring you down. And the other one, you're extremist fanatics, I'm gonna bring you down. Is this how we satisfy Imam al-Mahdi in the time of the Ghaibah? We're on the same path. We believe in Allah. We have the wilayah of the Ahlul Bayt illuminating our hearts, and this is how we see one another. That's not part of the identity of a true Muslim. A true Muslim has an identity in which he sees everyone as humans. As humans just like you. You know, sometimes when you have hatred towards some people, because of politics, because of social issues, whatever, misunderstandings, just remember one thing. That brother or sister in society that now I have tension with, who created that person? Sometimes the way we deal with others, it's as if Shaitan, Iblis created them, wallahi. It's as if they're the work of Iblis. Allah is the one who created us. He's the product of Allah, she's the product of God. I have no respect for what Allah created. No respect. And for someone who has the belief, I'm not even talking about those who have different beliefs. One who loves Imam Hussein alayhi salam, okay, they express themselves differently. So what? And an identity of a true Muslim is one that sees everyone through the lens of humanity. That's why the commander of the faithful, Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullahi alayhi, he says, An-nasu sinfan. People are of two categories. There's no third. Either they're your brothers in faith, or what? They're your counterparts in creation. Brothers in faith or brothers in humanity. Two categories. Can we see other people like that? This is how the messenger of God saw other people. He saw them as souls, not as objects, as souls, as human beings. That's why once the Prophet was passing and he saw the janazah, the coffin of a Jewish man in a funeral. There was a funeral and people walking in the funeral of this Jewish man. The janazah, the dead body of this Jewish man in the coffin, in the casket, passed by the Prophet. The Prophet stood up out of respect for that body. Imagine the greatest creation of Allah for a Jewish dead man. Some of the companions, they thought the Prophet didn't know, and maybe that he thought it was a Muslim. They told him, Ya Rasulullah, it's a Jewish man. You got up for a Jewish man. The Prophet responded by one word. You know what he said? The Prophet ﷺ stated, Alaysat nafsan? Isn't it a soul? Isn't it a soul? Look at the reply of Nabi al-Rahmah. This is Nabi al-Rahmah. Isn't it a soul? The least I can do, I show respect to a soul. A man who passed away. The Prophet did not come to bring hatred towards people. He came to bring love. The identity of a Muslim must be deeply rooted in humanity and love. That's the first stage. The second stage comes our belief system. We feel proud of our belief system. We don't dehumanize others and encourage others to be violent against those who don't share our beliefs. No. But we feel proud. We don't compromise our belief system. This same Prophet who would stand for that Jewish body and he would say it's a soul. This same Prophet, when in Mecca, Abu Talib comes to him, his beloved uncle. He tells him, my dear nephew, these pagans have an offer. They don't want you to continue preaching Islam. They have an offer. They say, tell your nephew Mohammad, what does he want? Does he want to be a king? We'll make him the king of Mecca. We'll make him. Does he want women? We'll give him our best woman. Does he want wealth? We'll give him wealth. What does he want? Just tell him to stop Islam and we'll give him all of that. What was the response of Rasulullah to Abu Talib? He told him, Ya Am, go tell them, if they put the sun in my right hand and the moon in my left hand, meaning they give me the universe, so that I would stop preaching Islam, I swear by God I would not stop. I'll never stop preaching the faith of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nabi al-Rahmah, who stands up for a Jewish body, is so proud of his identity. No one can take away my iman and faith from me. No one. This comes from a strong sense of identity. And this is what we lack and our younger generation is lacking, brothers and sisters. Make your child understand what it means to believe in Allah. Sometimes parents, it's sad to say this, but this is the reality. Sometimes parents expect their children, to believe in God and the presence of Allah. But the way they behave in their homes shows you that they probably don't feel the presence of Allah. How do you expect your children to feel God's presence when as parents, I'm not respecting the presence of Allah? How? You as parents, when you have a strong sense of identity and you feel proud of your identity, your children will adopt that from you. But when I'm just Muslim, and we live in a household that is a Muslim household, but Islam is not practiced in the home. Islam is not practiced in our home. The teachings of Islam, where do you find them in our homes? Are they present in our homes? Taqwa, piety, akhlaq, respect, honesty. Some children, they grow up in households, seeing parents, family members, other people, backbiting one another, slandering one another, disrespectful to one another. Especially in summer when the time of Fajr is early, the dad, mashallah, is in a different world. You want to teach your children salah and you're sleeping. How does that work? How does that work? Make them feel proud of their role models. Today, let me give you an example. Quran and Ahlul Bayt, the Prophet says, these two I've left behind you. You want success? These two. Our children, how much do they know about Quran? Not even the surahs and the tafsir. I'm not even talking about that. Just basic things about the Quran. This is the book of Allah. Today, ask a child about sports, about football matches. They'll tell you the history of that match, how many scores this player made, and they'll go on for hours and hours. Tell them, Habibi, just a teenager. I'm not even talking about kids. Bring one of our teenagers. Habibi, tell me, we have a surah in the Quran called Zukhruf. What does Zukhruf mean? That's all. I'm not even asking you for tafsir of the verses. Just tell me what Zukhruf means. Jathia. What Jathia means? Jathia? What's Jathia? It's the first time in my life I hear Jathia. This is the book of Allah. And I don't even know what these words mean and why they're important in my life. That's a problem. That's a big problem. Come to the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. Allah has given us 12 shining stars of the Ahlul Bayt. Ask our children, ask our youth. Tell me a few things about Imam al-Hadi alayhi salam. What do you know about Imam al-Hadi? Why is he important? Why is he special? What lesson do I learn from an Imam al-Hadi? You'll get blank faces. Yeah, I know there's an Imam called Imam al-Hadi, but that's it. See, Islam is not alive in our homes. The Ahlul Bayt are not alive in our homes. Going to programs and mosques, that's wonderful. That actually has shown through research and statistics that it does strengthen the identity of our children. But that's not enough. Going to matams and azadaris, that's fabulous, magnificent, but that's not enough. If your child at home does not know the basics of Quran, does not know why the Imams are important, how do you expect them to have a strong sense of identity, to feel proud of their heritage? And oftentimes parents are waking up when it's too late. Too late. Today in America, 1/3 of children Muslim children don't reveal that they're Muslim. They don't. They're out in American society. They act as if they're American. They're ashamed, embarrassed to show that they're Muslim. And 1/6 of them, 1 in 6 children, actually pretend not to be Muslim. They'll even fake their identity to show that they're not Muslim. Why? There's a problem in the house. They never really understood why they should feel proud of the Prophet, of the Ahlul Bayt, peace be upon them, of the Holy Quran, of our salah, this gem that we have, this treasure that we have. Do our children know the value of salah? Know the value of salah? But we as parents, we have to understand the mentality of our children, and through their mentality show them the beauty of salah. It's a treasure. But you have to speak to your child not from authority, you have to do this or X will happen or you're burned or doesn't work. In our society today, it doesn't work. You have to create the excitement about salah. Sit with your children. To give you a quick example, a very quick example, just before I came here to Leeds in Sheffield, we had a discussion with some children and parents. And they asked the question, how do we make our children love salah? How do they appreciate it? I asked the little kids that were sitting in front of me, I told them, what is something that you like? Something that you enjoy? Any of you like art? You know, today's society is big on art, right? Half of the kids, they raised their hands. Yes, we love art. I asked a little girl, maybe 5 years old, and she was smart, mashallah. I asked her, tell me, who is the best, most beautiful artist in existence? She thought for a moment, then she said, Allah. God is the best artist. I told her exactly. Allah is the best artist. Just look at the natural scenery. Look at the small little planet, how Allah has developed it, how Allah has crafted it. At night when you look at the stars and the galaxies, Allah says, I've decorated the sky for you. Just see. Look at the wonders of God. Is there an artist who can come close to the creation of God? See what your child likes. I told those children, I told them, dear children, if Allah is the best artist, the most beautiful artist, and He's given you the most beautiful work of art. You yourself, you're a working piece of art, walking piece of art. Look at this universe. When you stand to pray, you're connecting yourself to the source of beauty, to the source of love, to the source of inspiration, to the source of the best art in the universe. Isn't that something to be proud of? Today, ask these kids if the most famous artist of all time comes to our society. Wouldn't you want to spend time with that artist if you love art? Imagine Da Vinci, Michelangelo, some of these famous sculptors and artists, they come to our society today. Wouldn't our kids run towards them to spend time with them? Habibi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the king of artists. What are you talking about? Every day He's given you 5 times to speak to Him, to connect to Him, to seek inspiration from Him. If you talk to your child like that, believe me, at the time of salah before you, he'll run to speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But they have to understand why Allah is precious and valuable. They need to understand that if I don't pray, I'm the one who's missing out. I'm the one who's missing out. Allah doesn't need my prayers. I'm the one who's missing out. I'm disconnecting myself from the source of all beauty in the universe. But through that, we can create a strong identity where your child feels proud of being a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, feels proud of serving people in society, regardless of their race, ethnicity, socioeconomic background. It does not matter. When your child feels proud of that, nothing can bring your child down. Nothing. Not the trials of life, not the difficulties. Nothing can bring your child down. Once your child has understood that, then we have these other identities. You're a citizen of this country. You're a British citizen. That's okay. You know, there are some families, especially like recent immigrants or those maybe who are more conservatives. You know how they teach their children? No, you're not British. No, we're not British. The British are a different people. You know what you do to your child when you say that? Your child grew up here, was born here, speaks British, goes to British schools. When you tell your child you're not British, you're creating a crisis in your child. When you create that identity crisis, your child will suffer, will try to hide their Islamic identity. They won't feel proud of it because now you've put them in a tough spot where they have to choose. Either I'm British or I'm a Muslim. I can't combine between the two. Habibi, who said you can't combine? You're a Muslim who's British. Yes. British means that you feel proud of your land. You protect your land from immorality, from anything that's not good. You want a healthy society. Is that bad? The Prophet ﷺ was in the land of shirk. On the Kaaba there were 360 idols. You want more corruption than that? More deviation? But the day the Prophet left Mecca, he had tears on his eyes. He says, Allah knows I love Mecca. What Mecca does the Prophet love? What Mecca is he talking about? Mecca, the land of shirk? But the love of the Prophet to Mecca meant liberating Mecca from indecency, from corruption. That's the love for your land. When you work towards a healthy society for your children, for your future, for your neighbors, that's Islam. You can be a proud British citizen and a Muslim. Teach your children that. Be proud. Have a strong sense of identity. And always work for justice in your society. Being a proud British citizen, that means you work for justice in your society. That's what it means. But sometimes because we don't know these things, we create that conflict. You have to choose this or that. This land does not belong to anyone else more than it belongs to me. We're all the creation of Allah. Allah is the owner of all lands. If I work for justice, feel proud of it. Yes, the day I lose my values, I lose my moral compass, then for me just to fight for a piece of land, that's the peak of arrogance and ignorance. And this is what the Prophet ﷺ educated the people about. Loving your land meaning bringing justice to your land. And feel proud of it. Feel proud of it. No problem about that. But sometimes when we create these conflicts, we put our children in a tough spot. They lose their Islamic identity. Let's have our children feel proud. Feel proud. And especially when it comes, my dear brothers and sisters, to the wilaya of Ahlul Bayt. Raise your children with full confidence and identity. Your child should walk around the entire globe and feel proud of the wilaya of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Lady Fatima was the first defender of wilaya. When she saw the right of Amir al-Mu'mineen usurped, she was the first to stand. She sacrificed, she suffered for wilaya. She did not go to that mosque for a piece of land called Fadak. Fatima doesn't care about a piece of land. But Fatima alayhi salam was making a statement that these people are unjust. She was exposing them. And they took the khilafah from Imam Ali alayhi salam. And she was using Fadak as a means to expose them. Fatima was the first defender of wilaya. And she was a proud defender of wilaya. Despite all the pains, she was concerned about the wilaya of Amir al-Mu'mineen. The right of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, she was so proud of that. She had such a strong identity. And she was not willing to compromise when it came to wilaya. I'm not willing to compromise. Even if that means I will suffer. Even if that means that my house will be attacked. But I will stand firm in the face of wilaya. We have to educate our children to carry the love of Muhammad and al-Muhammad. And to have that strong identity. That's the best way to keep them healthy from all aspects. Psychologists today are telling us that teaching your children to have a strong sense of identity, this in the future protects them from depression, from loneliness, from mental disorders and illnesses, from anxiety. These things our youth are falling to every single day. You'd be surprised how many people reach out to me, Syed, I'm struggling with depression, with loneliness, help me. If as parents you raise your children with a strong sense of identity, this will protect them socially, psychologically, mentally, and from a religious perspective. Never forget the significance of this day, the day of the martyrdom of Lady Fatima alayhi salam. Lady Fatima sacrificed so much. Let's carry her love. Never forget the heartbroken children of Lady Fatima. Never forget Lady Zainab alayhi salam, how she lost her mother. They sacrificed for us, brothers and sisters. Appreciate them. Lady Fatima had asked Imam Ali alayhi salam to read Quran on her grave after she would pass away and be a shaheed. Know the value of Quran. Fatima, with her great status, she would seek comfort from the recitation of the Quran. That's the power of Quran. Imam Ali alayhi salam was once on the grave of Lady Fatima reciting the Quran when he took a short nap. He saw Lady Fatima alayhi salam in his dream. Lady Fatima told him, "Oh Abul Hasan, thank you for reciting the Quran, but I have a request from you. My little Zainab now woke up in the midst of the night and she came to my room. And she saw my empty place and she's crying, Ali, go back to our house and comfort Zainab." The Imam wakes up, he rushes to the house, he goes and sees Zainab in tears. The Imam alayhi salam, he embraces her, he hugs her. I say to you, Lady Fatima, you were disturbed when Zainab saw your empty space and she cried. Fatima, what would you have done on the day of Ashura when your daughter Zainab saw the severed head of Imam Hussein on the spear? Oh Allah. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. Raise your hands in dua. Let's recite this holy verse 5 times together. Everyone together. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أمن
يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء
أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء نسألك اللهم باسمك العز الأجل الأكرم يا الله 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 اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج والعافية والنصر واجعلنا من أنصاره وأعوانه والمستشهدين بين يديه اللهم اشفي كل مريض
إلهي
اللهم اقضي دين كل مدين
إلهي
اللهم فرج عن كل مكروب ومهموم اللهم ارزقنا شفاعة فاطمة الزهراء اللهم ارزقنا زيارة فاطمة الزهراء وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات نهدي ثواب سورة الفاتحة مسبوقة بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد
الراحمين وصلى الله على محمد